Good afternoon all. In today's Java lecture, we will see class and objects in Java. So guys, let's start. Prior to that, I will share my screen. Yes. Is it visible? Yes, screen is visible. Yes, screen is visible. Abhishek, Adarsh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first, we have create our Java's class file. So Java's empty class file. Then click on the next. Give the name to the class as a first class. Okay. Save it into the location Java programs folder. Click on OK. Click on finish. Great. So it creates our Java's class file. This is source code file where we write the source code in Java. So basically, first we will learn the concept. So what is object? What is class? So class is a template for an object. And what is object? Object is an instance of a class. Okay, so what is the class? Class is a template for an object, and object is nothing but the instance of a class. Okay, class is a user defined data type in Java. So in Java, class is a user defined data type, or we have called it as a non-primitive data type. Great. So in Java, what class contains? Class contains data members and member methods. Okay, so class contains data members and member methods. Okay, so Java is also called as abstract data type because that encapsulate only important information as a data members and member methods. So this is called as the ADT, that is abstract data type. Great. This is the all about class and object. Next, how to create the class in Java. So first give the keyword class, then your class name. Okay, so we have to give any class name as per the nomenclature. First letter of that class name is capital and consecutive words are in the capital letter. So this is optional symbol, that is square bracket, and inside that we have write either extends class, extends, you have to call it as a super class, okay, or implements interface. So these are optional. When we use inheritance, in that time we have to use either extends keyword if we have to inherit it from the class, or if we have inherit the particular class from the interface, then use the keyword implements. Okay, great. So we will see that part. But what is the syntax for creating the class? So class, then class name, and in optional form extend superclass or implement interface. Inside the class we have, that is optional, variable declaration or initialization. Both are valid in Java. It is also called as class data members. Next, method declaration or method definition. Okay, so that we have to write inside the class, or it is also called as the body of class. Great. So this is body of class. So in this way, we have to create the class. After the class, don't give semicolon. Here in Java, we don't write semicolon, but in C++, we know that after end of the curly bracket of the particular class, what we have to write? After this curly bracket, we have to write semicolon. Okay, after the closing brackets. Okay, so this is the syntax for the C++, but in Java, there is the after closing bracket, we don't write any semicolon. Great. So generally, suppose class first, yes. Okay, so this is also create one class. No need to write variable declaration or data member declaration or initialization or method declaration or initialization. So this is also a class first. Yes, it is also possible in Java. Great. So after that, suppose let's give the comment to whole description. Okay. Give the comment. Yes. So this is the comment line. Okay. So this is all the comment line. You can write, create the new class afterwards. Yes, here. So for our understanding purpose, we have to take the class that is rectangle. Okay. So rectangle is the name of the class. Class is the keyword. Okay. This is the user defined data type. Now we have create data members of that particular class or variables of that particular class. So what are the variables? Suppose int length. This is the first variable. Second is integer width. Okay. So why we will select these two data members? These are called as data members of class rectangle. So these are called as the data members. Okay. So these are the two data members. We have declared that data member, not initialized. Okay. In Java, we have to initialize the data members also. Okay. So these are the data members. Why we choose these data members? Because we want to calculate the area of the rectangle. So second one is the write method. So write the method. So first, to take the values from the user, what we have to give? One method, that is void get data. Okay. So data, what we required? One is the length. So L as a formal parameter, then W. Great. Next thing is to initialize this L and W, which is will take from the user to this length and width. Okay. So here we have to write length. So length is equal to L. Okay. And width. So width is equal to W. Great. So using this method, we have to initialize the data members of that particular class. For that, which method is there? Get data method is there. Next method is to calculate the area of that rectangle. So method name. So that method returns the area. So return type is int and name of the method is area. Okay. great. So based on the length and width, we will calculate the area of the rectangle. So how to calculate it? Integer rect area is equal to length into width. Yes. Now we have to return that area. So area is saved into the rect area variable. So just return that variable. Great. So guys, get data area, these are called as the member methods or member functions of class rectangle. So guys, here we have created our class rectangle. In that, length and width are the two data members. Get data and area are the two methods. Okay, methods are also called as functions. Yes. So hope you understand. So this is called as the class. Now it's time to create the object of that class. So class is acts as a template for the object. And what is the object? Object is nothing but the instance of a class. Great. So for that, we have to create new class, second class called as the first class. Yes, and this first class contains our main function. So we know public void main args. Okay, so public static is remaining. Main function must be static in Java. So public static void main string args. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the area for particular instance. So how to create instance for the rectangle, or how to create objects for the rectangle? So first give the name of the class, that is rectangle. Name of the object, suppose obj. This is the name of the object. Yes, this is called as the object declaration. Yes, this is called as object declaration. Now initialize the object. Object is equal to, using new keyword, calls the constructor of the particular rectangle class. There is no constructor exist in the rectangle class. There is no constructor, but by default there is a zero argument constructor with the name rectangle. Okay, so new rectangle is called that is called as the object initialization. Great. After object initialization, what we have to call? So we have to call the get data method. Now get data and area, these are the instantiable method, or it is also called as non-static methods. And if the methods are non-static, then we will call that methods using object of that particular class. Okay, so so there are two types of methods. One is the non-static method and static method. So area is a non-static method. So here we have to call this area and get data method by their object name. So rectangle obj is the name of the object. So we will call the method, that is object dot get data. Okay, so object dot get data, and pass the argument to that method. So how to pass argument? One is the length and second one is the width. So we will pass that. So suppose 10 comma 20. Yes. So this is the method call. This is called as the method call. Get data method we have to call by using object names, that is object obj. Okay, so we have to create two different statement, object declaration and object initialization. Guys, obj is also we have called as object, but actually it is a object reference. This obj stores the reference of the object, and object is created using new rectangle method that is called to the constructor. It creates the space on the heap partition dynamically at the runtime. It creates the object, and that object's base address is written by this new keyword, and that is stored into the object reference. So obj is always called as the object reference, not an object, but for our sake of convenience we have called as a object. Okay, for the understanding purpose only. So object dot get data and pass the length and width. Okay, great. So next thing, call object dot. So there are in drop down different methods. Area. Okay, so area is a constructor. No, area, not a rectangle is a constructor. Okay, get area. Area is the method. So call that area method. So no argument is required. So this method gives you what? Area. So this method returns integer value. So cache that value into some integer variable. Integer a. Okay, and display that value inside the a, which gives you area of that particular rectangle. So system dot out dot println, inside that area is equal to, in double quotes, plus a. Okay, great. So this is called as method call. Call the data member methods of particular class by using its object. Why? Because these are non-static methods. These are instantiable methods. Instantiable means it is called by its object name. That's why it is called by object. That is obj.area, obj.get data. But area method returns integer value, so we have to cache that value into some integer variable. Okay, so this is A. Now it's time for compile and check. So there is no compilation error. Now execute the file. Okay, so area of this rectangle having length 10 and width 20 is equal to 200. Great. Okay, now second way to call. How to create the object of the class in one line. Okay, so how to create the object? Suppose rectangle. Okay, so name of the object, that is object1, is equal to new rectangle. So call the constructor. Yes, and using object1 dot which method? First initialize the data, that is using get data method. Pass the values. Suppose values are 20 and 30. Great. And object1 dot area. Okay, and this method returns integer value as area, so catch it into integer b. Okay, and last one is the system print on the console, that is system dot out dot print ln. Okay, and area of second rectangle is equal to plus b. Okay, so let's check whether it gives you 600 as a area or not. Great. So first area is 200, we have already seen, and area of the second rectangle is 600. Great. So guys, when we have to combine these two lines into single line, yes, it is also possible. Okay, so there is another third way to create the object. But for example, if you want to create call the get data method, so there are number of ways. New rectangle, yes, it is possible. Dot, we have directly call the get data method, okay, and pass 20, 30. But what happens, guys? There is no name for the object we have created. Directly we have to create instance of the object, but there is no reference is stored into reference variable like obj or object 1. Okay, that's why we have to call it. Yes, we have to call it, but now when we create the object, how to call the object method? No, it is not possible. Okay, so in this way, suppose dot, no, because it does not returns anything. So in this way, what happens? We have to call get data method or area method directly. Okay, if you want to calculate, call that area. Yes, it is possible. Area. So directly we will call the area method also. It is possible syntactically. Okay, this type, there is no name of the object. So this type of objects are called as nameless object. Great. So using this directly call the constructor through the new keyword, we can create the nameless objects. When we create the nameless object, if their reference is not further in use, at that time we have to directly create the nameless object because their object name is not required for the further computation. Okay, great. Yes, I hope you understand how this works. So when you create the object 1, what it calls the constructor of that particular class by using new keyword. New keyword dynamically reserve the space on the heap partition on your RAM for which data members, length and width. Okay, so here actually what is the keyword? This dot length. Okay, this dot. Okay, this is the object reference in Java, but in is object pointer. Okay, in C++. Okay. That's why it is called by this arrow length in C++. But in Java, this is a object reference. So this is the object reference, guys. Yes, hope you understand. So here this dot length. So if we don't write this dot, then also it's okay because automatically there is a this keyword. This means in Marathi ha. Yes. So this means ha. Yes. Which object called to this get data method whose length variable is or data member is initialized with this L value, which is passed as an argument. Suppose 20 is copied into L and 30 is copied into W at the runtime, and this W is assigned to the this dot width. Here, who is the current calling object? Object 1. So object 1's value, object 1's width, and object 1's length is initialized. When it calls the area using the object 1 So object one dot area. So here it's called comes. Then length. Length means what? This dot length. So this means who? Who this? Current calling object. So who is the current calling object? Object one. So object one's length, that is 20, into objects one's width is calculated, and that is 20 into 30, that gives you 60, and it is returned to the rectangle area. So return rectangle area. So what is the area? 600, that is return, and this return value is catch into the variable b, and this value we have to display here as a area of rectangle. Guys, any doubts? Yes, any doubts? Yes. Yes, Abhishek, any doubts?
No doubt, sir. No doubt.
Okay. So let's move to the next concept, that is called as constructor. So here, guys, what we have to use to initialize the data members of that class, length and width, this is initialization, is done into the body of that method. So initialization of data members of the particular class, we have to use one method that is called as getData. So instead of using getData method, what we have to do, we have to create the constructor of that particular class. So what is constructor? Remove this method name and write the method name as the same as the class name. So what is the class name? Rectangle. Guys, don't write return type. Any constructor in Java, C++ does not having any return type, because constructor construct the object, not return the object. That's why this rectangle, what is called as, okay, what is constructor? Constructor is a special member function of a class. Okay, constructor is a special member function of a class having same name as that of the class. So constructor is a special member function of the class having same name as that of the class. So same name rectangle. Then what is the feature? No return type. No return type. Constructor does not having any return type. Guys, but constructor having access specifier, that is public. Okay, we can write as a public protected. Okay, so we will see that. So but guys, understood, constructor having access specifiers. Okay, so we will see that access specifier later on. Next thing is same name, then int l. Okay, no doubt, this dot length l. Okay, this dot width. Okay, so this constructor is also called as, there are different types of constructor in that: parameterized constructor. So what is the type of this constructor? Parameterized constructor, because this constructor having two parameters or arguments. So it is called as the parameterized constructor. Yes. So hope you understand. This is parameterized constructor. This dot length, you have to write this dot length or simply write length. this dot length, or simply write width. So class data members length and width we have to initialize here. So initializing the data members of the class means we have to initialize the object of the class. Okay, so every object, that is instance of a class having two data members, length and width. So this we have initialized. If you write this dot length, okay, it's work. Otherwise, no need to write this. Yes. Similarly, here also this dot length on this dot width, no need, because current calling object, there is a object dot this this dot of length means current calling objects. Okay, guys, hope you understand. So simple method we have to convert into what? We have to convert into constructor. Okay, so so when we create the constructors, now how to create the object? So rectangle object is equal to new rectangle. Okay, if we create like this, what happens? Let's check. Object dot. Okay, so object dot get data method. No, there is actually no get data method exist. Okay, so how to call it? If you write like this and just simply compile, oh, it gives you error because rectangle object, new rectangle. In this rectangle class, when we create the constructor, which is parameterized constructor, then in this class there is no default constructor like this. Means zero argument constructor like this does not exist. It is override by this parameterized constructor when you create parameterized constructor in that rectangle class. So this constructor is not exist. That's why it gives the error to this line. It gives the syntactical error to this line. Okay, so but guys, that is constructor rectangle is cannot be default. Okay, because there is no default constructor. But what if you remove this error, we can create one default constructor like this only in the program, then there is no syntactical error. Just check. Okay, because what happens, this construct new calls the constructor that is default constructor, and the default values, that is length and width, are initialized to 0. If it is integer, it is initialized to 0. If it is float or double, it is initialized to double 0.0. If it is object, it is initialized to the null reference like this. Okay, but our class does not having any default constructor. So what we have to do, we have to must pass two values. Okay, which is length and width. Suppose length is 100 and width is 220. Yes, then object dot area, directly call the which method? Object dot area. And what it returns? It returns integer value. So integer area a is equal to object dot area, and print that value. So print system dot out dot println and print the value area is equal to double quotes plus a. Great. Save it, compile it, and execute the code and check what is the output. So output is area is 200. Guys, previous and this code, what is the difference? We have to create constructors, and when we have to create the constructors, lines of codes get reduced. And when you create the object at the same time, what happens? Object is initialized. What is the use of constructor? To construct the object with this data member values. So 10 is initialized to L, 20 to W, and then initialized to length. Length means this dot length. And who is the current object obj. So obj's length is equal to 10 and obj's width is equal to 20 is initialized. Okay, I will show you afterwards how it represent graphically. Okay, so new creates objects dynamically and initialize the value 10 and 20 on the heap partition of your RAM. Okay, which is designed for the dynamic memory management. Yes, guys, this is about constructor. So what is the constructor? Constructor is a special member function of the class having same name as that of the class name. Okay, no return type, but access specifier must be there. Yes, if there is no access specifier, it is called as default access specifier. Now, next point is a method overloading. Okay, we know polymorphism in C++. Similarly, here is a method overloading, and also we have to call constructor overloading. What is constructor overloading? I will show you. So rectangle method having same name, okay, but different argument list or their type is different. Number of arguments are different, or if arguments are same, then their data types are different. Then it is called as method overloading. Return type does not take part into method overloading. Great. So this is called as default constructor. This is called as parameterized constructor. So types of constructor: default constructor, or it is also called as zero argument constructor. Okay. So this is a zero argument constructor. This is parameterized constructor with two values. Great. Again, if the rectangle, and we have only take one value, that is L. Yes. And initialize to the length is equal to width is equal to what? L. Yes, means if length and width are same, that means only one argument is there. Rectangle having same length and width means it is actually square. Okay, then calculate the area. So directly, so here three constructors are there in your class. One is default constructor, then parameterized constructor with two parameters, also parameterized constructor with one parameter. Great. So here we have to create the objects in different ways. This is first by using two parameters. Now, if we create rectangle, object 1 is equal to new rectangle, then call the integer b as a to store the area, then object 1 dot area. Okay, so calculate the area and print it. So system dot out dot println. Great. So area 2 is equal to, in double quotes, plus b. Yes, great. Next, third thing, this is called to the default constructor. Default constructor. Now, guys, third type of constructor, that is rectangle. Object 2 is equal to new rectangle. Pass the value. Suppose 10. That is a rectangle is a square having length and width same. Then cache the area into C. Call object 2 dot area. It's calculate the area of this rectangle having length and width 10, that is square, and display it on the console. So system dot out dot println, inside that give the message as a area 3 is equal to, in double quotes, complete, and C. Great. So we have to create objects in different ways. First, call to the parameterized constructor with 2 parameters. Next, calls to the default constructor or zero argument constructor. And third way, we have created the object by using parameterized call to the parameterized constructor with single parameter. Great. So first compile it. Then execute your file and check the areas. So first area is 200. Yes, 10 into 20 gives you 200. Second area, there is no argument initialized. That means here length, this dot length is equal to 0 and this dot width is equal to 0. Default constructor. That's why its area is calculated as 0 into 0, that is 0. So the output is area 2 is equal to 0. And last one, length and width are same, that is 10. So 10 into 10, it gives you 100 as a area. Guys, hope you understand. Any doubts till this? Yes, any doubts till this? Hope you understand. Okay. Either comment in your chat box, then also I will know. Yes. Okay. Yes, Disha. Yes. Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's move to the next point. This is called as constructor overloading because we have to overload the method with same name but different arguments or their data types are different. So this is called as constructor overloading. Okay. Similarly, guys, we have to overload the methods. Okay, method having same name but different argument list. Okay, or their respective data types are different. So I will create one problem statement for you. Yes, just I will show some objective MCQ types of questions. So same class rectangle. Okay, and tell me, in class rectangle, I have created one method called as void test. Okay, void test is a method. In that, I have called byte a as a data member and just print system dot out dot println. Okay, and give the message that is method with byte is called. Similar way, we have to create another method that is void name same, that is method overriding, but pass the argument as a short. Okay, so short a, and again I have write same message that is system.out.println method with dot is called. Okay, similarly, in this way we have to just copy same method. This is called as same method name with different arguments or argument numbers are same but their data types are different. So here int, okay, and method with int is called. Okay, this is third method, overloading. It is called as method overloading. Test integer, then long. Yes. So method with long is called. Great. Again, after long, float and double. Okay. So float and called here as a method with float is called, and last one, that is double. So double and method with double is called. Great. So what I have to do, I have to create the object of rectangle class. How to create it? Rectangle obj is equal to new rectangle. Okay. Default constructor is there. There is no any constructor exists. That means that class contains default constructor or zero argument constructor. Now call to the method object dot test. Object dot test. Okay. So pass the value first integer. Okay. Second object dot test, and pass the value to that as a 20.20, that is float. Guys, now tell me what is the output when this method is called. Which method is executed? There are different 6 methods are there. So instead of that, which method is called when this first statement is executed? So let's compile it. If there is syntactical error, check no syntactical error and execute your file and check the output. So method with int is called for the first statement. It is integer value. But guys, it is also short, byte and long also. So it is not called, that is default. If you pass integer value, it's called integer. And if you pass float value, it is default called double. Yes. Now question arises. I want to call the method with byte. So what to do? So guys, just typecast it byte. Yes. And check it. What is the output? It's called. So this method is linked with the byte. Great. Okay. Suppose 2020f, and then you can compile it, then execute the file. Now check the output. So method with byte is called yes, and method with float is called, because you have to specify f here. Okay. But if it is only float point value without f capital or small at the end of the floating point value, then it calls to the double by default. If the value is integer, then it's called the integer constructor, integer method overloading method. Okay, test method with the integer as an argument. Okay, so this is called and this is executed if only 10 is passed. But if you want to call byte this method, then what we have to do, we have to typecast the value of 10 by using typecasting, that is parenthesis inside that name of the data type. Great. Now my question is, if int is not available here, method overloading with int as argument is not there, and you have to pass the value as a 10. So guys, what is the output? Tell me. If we have called the 10, if it is integer, then it's called the argument as an integer, but there is no integer, byte, short, long, then what happens? What is the output? Or it gives you error? Just check. There is no error. No error. Great. Now execute the file. What happens if 10 is there, then it automatically calls the long. Why? Because int is absent, then it is automatically calls to the long. Okay. If long is also absent, it is also automatically called to the float, then double, like this. If you want, then just see, give the comment to the long also. Yes, and check the output. Compile first and then execute your file and check the what is the output. So output is the float. Okay, so float, and for 20.20 double. And if there is a float, this is also absent, then what happens, guys? Compile the file, then execute the file and check the output. So both time it gives the method with the double is called. So both time this method is called. Now my question is, if I have given comment to this method also, okay, and when you compile it, so guys, it gives you syntactical error. Okay, syntactical error, or for first line itself as well as second line also, because method not found with integer, method not found with double. This is the concept. So as per that requirement, there is a objective MCQ type of questions based on this method overloading. So I hope you understand this part. Okay, but if you typecast it, suppose byte, okay, and second suppose 20, you have to typecast into short. Yes, then there is no syntactical error, guys. Let's check. There is no syntactical error when you compile and run the file. Then the output is method with byte is called, method with short is called. Yes. Hope you understand. Yes. Any doubts till this? In method overloading, constructor overloading, what is mean by constructor? What is object? What is class? What is declaration and syntax of the creating class? Then how to create objects and class and how to call that particular methods. Yes. Okay, great. So give the comment. First I will stop.